Today, we're going to talk about a feeling that has become way too common in our pretty uncertain world. It's this strange, heavy weight that comes with, well, just getting by. We're talking about survivor guilt.
Okay, let's just dive right into this. Imagine this scenario. There's a big round of layoffs at your company. You're scanning the list and your name isn't on it. You should be relieved, right? You should feel lucky. But instead, this wave of dread just washes over you. Sure, you kept your job, but it feels like you've lost something fundamental. So what is that?
And this isn't some hypothetical. This is a real quote from a junior financial analyst on Reddit. They were just 2 years into their career and had to watch their boss, their director, their entire leadership team just gone, all in a single week. Any feeling of being fortunate was just completely buried under this mountain of loss and anxiety.
So what that analyst is feeling, it has a name. And to really get our heads around it, we have to look past the individual experience and dig into the psychology of it all. We need to name this ghost in the machine.
Yeah, it's really important to understand that this isn't just about feeling bad for your former colleagues. Survivor guilt is a recognized psychological phenomenon. I mean, the whole concept first showed up when clinicians were treating survivors of huge disasters, like wars. The fact that it's now considered a major symptom of PTSD, well, that tells you just how serious and how deep this can run.
And this guilt, it's not just in your head, not at all. As you can see here, it's a full-body experience. Look at how it breaks down. Emotionally, it's not just being sad, it's a feeling of impending doom. Cognitively, your brain can get totally stuck on a loop of self-blame. Physically, you can actually feel sick, headaches, nausea, you name it. And behaviorally, you might just pull away from everyone, even the people who could help you the most.
Psychologists actually slice this even thinner. You've got existential guilt, which is that big, broad, why me and not them feeling. But in the corporate world, what often hits harder is something called significant guilt. This is when you can point to a very specific, tangible reason why you survived. You stayed because your salary was lower than the mentor who taught you everything. That kind of specific, personal conflict, man, it can be brutal.
So what's the engine driving all of this? Well, at its core, it's a little trick our brains play on us called hindsight bias. It's that nagging voice in your head whispering, you should have seen this coming, or you should have done something to stop it. It makes you feel like you had some kind of control in a situation where, let's be honest, you probably had none at all.
So we know what it is, we know how it works. But why does it feel like survivor guilt has suddenly migrated from the battlefield to the boardroom? Why does this feel like such a defining emotion of our time, right now?
So where is all this anxiety coming from? Well, the data gives us a pretty big clue. This chart here shows a global economy that's on a slower growth path. Now that might sound kind of dry, but what it means for actual human beings is constant, low-level instability in the job market. It creates a world where layoffs are always on the table, keeping everyone perpetually on edge.
And that slow growth, it comes with a staggering human cost. More than 1.17 million people laid off around the world in 2025 alone. A number that big creates this constant background hum of anxiety, a widespread feeling that anybody's job could be next on the chopping block.
This quote just perfectly captures how those huge, abstract numbers translate into very real individual fear. It pinpoints how loyalty just gets eroded. When layoffs become routine, even the people who stay start to get the message. You're disposable. And that trust, it's just broken.
Now, this economic anxiety doesn't exist in a vacuum, right? It's getting cranked up to 11 by a world that just feels more and more volatile. You've got geopolitical analysts pointing to things like hybrid warfare and a major retreat from global cooperation on huge issues like climate change. All of this just adds to this collective feeling that the old safety nets are gone.
So in this chaotic world, let's zoom back in. What is it actually like for the people left behind after all the pink slips have been handed out? What is the survivor's burden, really?
Well, you get these two completely conflicting stories that survivors are often told. On one hand, you've got the whole chaos is a ladder argument. Just stick it out, and you can climb the ranks faster than ever. But the quote on the right reveals a very different and often more common reality. Chaos just leads to more chaos. All your hard work gets lost in the shuffle, and there's no one left to even see what you've accomplished.
This whole experience has led to this really powerful and honestly pretty bleak metaphor for the modern office, the Aeron graveyard. You know what I'm talking about? The empty desks, the grayed out names on Slack. This is the 21st century version of what psychologists call object loss, that profound sense of grief that comes when people just vanish from your daily life.
And here it is. This is the core insight that can turn survivor guilt into something much more cynical. The painful truth, as this person points out, is that survival often isn't about your merit. It's just a financial decision. You survived because your salary was lower. And that realization, it just shatters any illusion of a meritocracy. It twists any feeling of success into this painful reminder of someone else's loss.
After all of that, I know it's easy to feel completely overwhelmed. But the story does not end in despair. Understanding where this guilt comes from is the absolute first step toward healing. So, how do we move from this heavy, heavy burden towards something like genuine growth?
Well, researchers say the most effective way to build resilience is through a multi-systemic approach. It starts with you, with what they call intrapersonal resources, like self-compassion, just acknowledging that what you feel is real and it's valid. But it can't stop there. It has to extend outwards, to building community connections, which are the single strongest predictor of resilience. And finally, it's about reconnecting to a shared identity, a purpose that's bigger than your job title.
And if you take only one thing away from this section, please let it be this. Across decades of research, the most powerful antidote to the helplessness and the self-blame that comes with survivor guilt is altruism. It's about taking all of that painful energy and turning it into meaningful, helpful action. It's how you start to reclaim your sense of agency.
So what does that actually look like in practice? Well, it can be incredibly simple. Keep in touch with the people who are let go. And not just a one-time thing, but actually checking in. Write them a thoughtful recommendation on LinkedIn. Offer to mentor someone who's now looking for a job. Or hey, get involved in a mutual aid network. These are small acts of service that rebuild a sense of connection and control for you and for them.
So what's the ultimate takeaway here? It's this. Surviving a layoff or a crisis or any traumatic event, it's not a prize that you've won. It is not a victory. It's a responsibility. A responsibility to those who didn't make it through, a responsibility to the community that you're still a part of, and a responsibility to yourself to turn that painful experience into something meaningful. So the final question isn't why me, it's what now? What are you going to build with?